Hi, this is Coach World TV, and I'm Laurie Lawson, and tonight my guest is finally Ryan Stanley. Hey, Ryan.
Hi, Laurie. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to have him on the other side of the camera. Ryan is an IPEC person. Anybody who watches his shows knows that I am too, and he does all of the social media for IPEC. And I don't even know, maybe 4 or 5 months ago we started talking about this because he came to me and said, want to be Coach of the Week? And I was like, sure, why not? And so he brought a little teeny weeny camera and did a fantastic video. So right. I've got all this equipment, so I'm trying to impress him.
It's a whole new world. We had a flip cam there, now we're kicking
now we
it
got
into gear.
Real cameras and microphones. But so it's nice to have him on the other side. And we talked about it. Then I said, oh, you've got to be on Coach World TV. And he generously agreed. And what a lovely night to ride in from New Jersey, but he did it anyway. We appreciate it.
It's great to be here.
So tell us, Ryan, I'm going to tell you how I'll tell you how I found his title. And he calls himself the leading life coach in the music industry and, cutely enough, the social media guy for IPEC.
Yeah.
So how did you get into coaching? We just have to know, first of all.
Again, thanks for having me, by the way.
Oh, please. Our pleasure.
I got into coaching because I was in the music industry. I was managing several bands, and I just found there was things that I loved about management. Mostly, I loved, inspiring the artists. I loved working with them on a regular basis to kind of show them what was a realistic possibility, what their future could hold if they really wanted to get through it, keeping them focused. I love the concept of creating, something organically from nothing to taking it where you wanted it to go. There were some aspects about management I didn't love as much. I wasn't real keen on the booking. I wasn't real keen on, yeah, exactly, dealing with, shady club owners, stuff like that. And so, I kept hearing this term life coach. And I was speaking with my wife, and I just said, it sounds like kind of more what I'd like to do. It sounds like more what I'm enjoying doing about with the artists. And so I started looking into it. And so I did about 6 weeks worth of research, and I found IPEC, Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, and went and got certified as a professional life coach.
And what year was that?
That was 2009.
Okay, all right.
And I found sometimes I was dealing in a management level, I was working with people who weren't necessarily as excited about their future as I was. Because they were just, I thought they were great, very talented. But the difference there is with coaching, people only come to me because they want to be successful. They're really excited about their future, and they want to know the best, most efficient way to get there. And so those are the people that I like to work with. So it was one more thing that kind of drove me into there.
So I guess what we want to know is, why would the music industry need a coach? Or people in the music industry, or maybe the whole industry. I don't know.
Well, I mean, as
you say, everybody needs a coach.
Yeah, everybody really can use a coach on some level. Specifically, musicians or people in the music industry, whether it be producers, managers, agents, whatever, kind of goes back to, music is definitely a business. As an artist, you are an entrepreneur on some level. You're creating your own business, basically, from scratch. You're creating your own product, which is your brand, your music. Anything else that you want to sell, whether it be T-shirts, CDs, posters, frisbees, tickets are good. So just to have somebody along the lines to, share where you are, to have somebody who's got your agenda, who it's basically having a partner in your life or in your business to walk with you, each step of the way. Sometimes it can be a little lonely when you're, writing music and you feel like you're going to these shows and you feel like, it's not getting where you want it to be. It's nice to have somebody there who's got your back and is kind of helping you see what you saw to begin with and helping you to want to get there. Especially somebody who's had some experience in the industry, might have some contacts, and that has an idea of what you're going through from past experience.
So if someone says, oh my gosh, I have this calling and I want to make my own CD, would you be the person they come to?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I don't make CDs, but I can certainly help them get clarity around what that means to them. What is the very first step in getting that done? Okay,
because what we are used to seeing is like American Idol, and you stand outside and you audition, and then you become a star.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so somewhere there's a couple of people who don't make it.
Right. Exactly. So, one or two.
Are you the coach for these people, or?
I can be the coach for any of the above because at any level, there's going to be different challenges, there's going to be different pressures, there's going to be different issues that come up that, again, it's nice to have a partner, somebody to work through. You know, if you're just starting out and you're not anywhere close to American Idol, but you know this is what you want to do, you know, I'm the guy that will talk you through that and help you get clarity around what you're doing, why you're doing it. For that middle of the road, if somebody's maybe made some success, they're
kind of had the peak and now
or maybe maybe they've sold some CDs. They're kind of I feel like I've been doing this for like 6 or 7 years, and I'm I might be the guy to, again, it's about clarity and focus. What are you not doing? What blocks are actually stopping you from being where you really want to be? Now that you kind of got the game down, what are the next steps to really get you there? It might be something mentally. It might have nothing to do with your music. It might have nothing to do with, you know, it might just have to do with how you've been programming yourself to think on a lot of different levels. And then for, you know, on a superstar level, there's completely different, you know, different pressures, different fame. You know what it's like.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So, I mean, and that's something, again, to have somebody that you can bounce ideas off of and come to a place of comfort and understanding.
Well, you know what I'm thinking, and I'm kind of equating it to the world of coaching or the world of coaches. I think we all have this calling, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is what we want to do. And you get the training and you're ready to go, and then it's like, oh, I have to do a business.
It turns out I have to get clients.
Clients are knocking on my door. What happened? I have to actually, and then I think, and I'm not shorting any coaching profession or training, because their job is to train you to be a coach, but it's like, I think that's where coaches get into trouble, and maybe musicians also, that they don't realize it's a business.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, everybody's different. As you said, every training's different. Every, you know, I think, there's a lot of hard work. You know, there's a million people out there that want to play the guitar for a living and that want to have, you know, thousands of people scream their name on a daily basis. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
You know,
and I don't even play the guitar, but I know what he means. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of competition out there, and so you got to have a thick skin, like anything else. And that's why, you know, at the beginning of our conversation, I pointed out it is a business. You are an entrepreneur. It is something that you need to be steadfast about. And they say, you know, what is it? I forget. 9 out of 10 businesses fail within the first year. You know,
yes.
So. I'm sure it's like 9.8 musicians over a lifetime span.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of that has to do with, you know, the people that don't have the thick skin and aren't really prepared for, you know, like you said, the amount of work that it takes and you know, talent. Obviously, there's lucky people. People win the lottery, as we've talked about earlier.
American Idol, right?
American Idol, it happens. And sometimes even those people then go on to do nothing. So that doesn't,
I can name a few.
Right.
Yeah. And we were following, yeah.
In any aspect of life, any business in life, it depends on what you're willing to, you know, put into it and see past it. You know, it's not just this one thing and everything in my life is perfect. You know, there's going to be challenges, you know, anywhere along those lines.
How tricky? I can see where you'd be so invaluable, actually, because how tricky is the world of music? I mean, we hear the songs and we hear the lyrics and we see Barry Manilow, and he's been around for 75 years, and Neil Diamond, but. How do you get through? I know, and from things that we've heard and read, there's a bit of corruption. There's a bit of excessiveness.
Sure, absolutely.
How I can see we'd be so valuable. It's like, how difficult is that?
Totally, and having a coach obviously helps.
RyanStanley.com.
RyanStanley.com. Thank you very much. I'm on Twitter, Ryan Life Coach. It is difficult, but again, you know, while it can happen overnight, most times it doesn't, but it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So I always say, you know, especially in today's world of social media where you can, you know, it's free to make videos. It's free to, you know, put content out there that people are going to want to see. Really, the best thing to do is just make as much content as possible. Be seen as often as possible. Get as many live performances as possible. And you know, that's where it kind of comes down to doing work sometimes, depending on your genre of music. But, you know, well, this gig isn't really going to pay me anything, and it's a little bit, well, it doesn't matter. You know, the more you show up, I think it was Groucho Marx just said, you know, the trick to
80% of life, yeah.
Show business is just show up.
90%, I think, yeah.
So show up as often as possible, and be willing just to do that over and over again until, you know, you never know who's going to be in the room. You know what I mean? You never know who's going to watch that video on YouTube. You never know who's going to, for some reason, see something that they like of yours. Unless you don't make it or you don't show up, if you don't make that video, or, you know. So consistency and never give up and just be present as frequently as possible.
It's interesting because I keep equating, and I don't think a lot about musicians. I mean, I listen to them, and that's about as much thinking as I do. But I keep equating. I had a photographer on, and he said it's very difficult in today's world because everybody has a cell phone and everybody thinks they're a photographer.
Sure.
And I would think everybody can make music. You can make a
absolutely, but I think it's. I think it benefits things, actually. I think it...
Really? How so?
Well, it creates a larger, more diverse landscape. It's more easy than ever before to gain access to new artists, people that you might never heard before. And, music is such a, a creative gift. I think working with musicians, one thing I find is very common, in most of our conversations, they always tell me, this is just something that, comes from within. I don't know why it's my calling, or it's just something I feel that I need to do. I'm excited to share it with the world, and so having different opportunities to be influenced in different areas from such a wide range can only help people, and give you more opportunities for discovery.
Okay, I guess, yeah, I would think maybe the competition would be daunting because there's so much of it, but then I guess that's another way to weed out.
Yeah, and the truth is I can speak for myself. I might not have found certain artists had I not found another artist, so having so much access to music between, Spotify and Pandora, there's a lot of different platforms where music is just becoming more prevalent and available to the average consumer. Kids, 13, it's amazing. I don't want to get into details, but there was like this list of the amount of songs that have outsold different Beatles songs, and things that you would have never thought before.
I saw that. Yeah, Rihanna, I think,
right.
outsold.
Yeah, Keisha or Keisha. I don't know her name. Something with a dollar sign.
Yeah.
But it's because these young people have such quick access to a song. It's a push of a button. And so if these other young people are getting in their garages or getting out the video camera or getting out and doing this stuff.
Well, Justin Bieber, right? He was a garage kid.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then the #1 superstar now. Well, what do you think the future of the music industry is? It's certainly not vinyl records. We know that's over.
No, well,
maybe not.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
not completely over. I still buy some vinyl.
Do you really?
Yeah. Certain artists put it out. In fact, what they'll do real quick is they'll sell the vinyl and then they'll sell like a little code so you can get the download as well. So if you want to keep the record, but then get the digital download as well. This way you get the album, you get the cover, you get all the cool stuff.
I thought they were just retro and they were things you collect.
A little bit of both. But yeah, the future of music is hard to tell. It's growing and changing so quickly, really to a point where, record labels are trying to figure it out themselves. They're they're going down so quickly because there are self-made artists. I mean, that can just fill up, make content that people want, get 1 million hits on YouTube, and then sell out, large venues.
Right.
So I think it's really more going towards, ticket sales. And merchandise is really where the money is going to come from. More and more people are giving away music for free. Radiohead, I think, last album they put out, but an entire the whole thing you could take for free. Donate whatever you want.
Really?
Type of thing. And some people gave $10, some people gave $2, some people took it for free. And it's because they're aware that it's accessible. People are going to get it one way or the other, so you might as well let them enjoy it, and then give them something that they want to see. Then pay for it to go, get the T-shirt.
And then you can promote all the equipment. Thank you. That has nothing to do with coaching. I was just curious.
No, that's fine.
But it does kind of have something to do with coaching because it calls for creativity, not only on the part of the talent that the person has, but creativity in dealing in the world because it is a world that's changing so quickly.
Absolutely.
I remember a couple of years ago there were all these laws out of you can't download, and now it's like, please take my music.
Right.
We're giving it to you. But and also you mentioned something about the solitary or the isolation sort of a person who is a single musician, and a lot of people can be single musicians now because you don't really need a band. You can digital everything. So
or even a lot of time there's solo artists, people who write music on their own, and then they'll hire a band to come play with them when they have a gig. They'll teach them the music. But yeah, so a coach can come in handy. Clearly when a lot of the time as a musician, it's like you're home, you're writing this music, you don't know if it sounds good, but at the same time you feel like you want to play it. You don't know if you should get a gig. You don't know if anyone's going to show up. You need to have a certain amount of people. So again, going back to that, comparison to entrepreneurship, it's like you sometimes can feel very lonely. You feel like nobody really gets why I'm doing this, but it's something that's in me, and I really want to get this done. And so to have somebody to bounce those ideas off of, and somebody who has worked with other musicians and can say, well, I get that. I understand why you know, where you are and where you want to be. You know, let's make sure you understand where that is. And you know, what, you know, is the loneliness created by you? You know, it's understandable that it's there, but what are you going to do about it? Is that really how you want to live your life? You know, or would you rather, you know, pursue joy and experience?
So do you serve, I know because I do mentor coaching sometimes, and I feel like I serve as a reality check. It's like, you know, it's, okay, now here we're going to do coaching. Do you serve as a reality check, or do you just really...
A little bit of everything, absolutely. I mean, sometimes people need, you know, they get caught in this victim energy, you know, well, poor me, I don't know, I have to work, and then nobody's going to come to my thing, and then I want to play in the same, you know, it's like, psh, so what? Right?
He's a violent coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, sometimes they need that. This is a reality check, a little smack, you know.
Yeah.
You know, they just need to know, you know, don't tell me what's going wrong. Tell me why you're doing this, what's going right. They need some clarity. And it's okay, and not to say that I don't understand those things, and I hear them coming, and it makes sense that they feel that way. But in the end, okay, now we understand that, what's the next step? What are you going to do about it? So do you want to be stuck in that mode forever, or do you want to, you know, take the next step? Of course, the answer is always going to be, well, I want to take the next step. So, okay, so what are you willing to do about it? And then I say, what can I do to help you get there? You know, how can I, as a coach, hold you accountable for doing things that you say you want to do?
What are some of the questions you might ask somebody that was, I'm not saying going off track, but just unsure? Or it's like, I would think after 6 years, I know it would take far less time for me. If I got, you know, nowhere in 6 months, I'd probably go, oh, never mind, wrong field. What do you do to keep people on track, or do you even try to keep them on track?
Well, I just, again, get clarity from them. You know, where do they really want to be? And as long as they have an understanding of what that is, they'll want to be on track. They'll understand, you know, and I do remind them that sometimes the track is 20 years long. Or I'll say to them, if you knew for a fact 20 years from now, if it was going to take you 20 years of working just like this, but then you were going to have everything that you ever want, would you do it?
Ah, okay.
You know,
that's
or
a good question.
how willing would you be to go through that? It might take 5 years, might take 20, but if you knew in the grand scheme of things that it was going to be perfect in the end, and they, you know, they always say, yes, of course I would.
Right.
And so you just need to remember that every day. You know, remember that this is why I'm doing it, because it's not going to happen whether it takes 5 or 20. It's not going to happen if you give up.
That's
true.
Right? That's true. That's a guaranteed.
Right. That's the only guaranteed outcome.
Well, I know, like, as I have a former background as human resources, and I know I found it amazing that I think the majority of reasons why people leave their jobs and go to other ones was not money, it was recognition.
Sure.
So I'm wondering, how much is money a motivator in the field of music?
I don't think it is so much.
I don't think so.
I
I
mean,
would think not, but I don't know.
More cases than not, it's more of like, that would be nice to have, you know, that's kind of part of the end goal.
Right.
But it's really not about making money as much as it's about the freedom, the ability that money might give you if you're successful enough, the ability to play music and write music and just do that for a living. Which again goes back to, you know, on a similar note, if somebody says I've been doing, you know, if they're, you know, in their 50s or 60s, they say I've been doing this for 30 years and I'm not going to get a Grammy next year. I'll say that's not necessarily true, technically, you know.
Right, who knows?
But B, you know, if you can earn a good living, if you can sell CDs, if you can sell, you know, downloads, if you can get people to your shows and play music every day of the week to live, is that good enough for now? Is that sufficient? So sometimes it's about getting clarity depending on where you are in the game as well. Clarity on what you really want. You know, what's the end goal?
What are some of the challenges of coaching a creative mind? Or a creative client, I guess. You don't have to just coach their mind.
You know, that's a tough question because I enjoy the creative aspect. That's why I work with musicians. That's why like I said.
Are you a musician?
No, that's no. I like to surround myself vicariously, you know, through these musicians.
I understand perfectly.
So yeah, I enjoy being around musicians. I enjoy being around creative minds. So, nothing is jumping out to me as a challenge specifically. If anything, I could say that, you know, it might be an aspect of going back to what you're saying, maybe not recognizing the amount of work that is involved, or that is, you know, realistically to be, and this varies from person to person. Right. I think, you know, the farther right side of your brain there is, a little less work you probably want to do. And it doesn't mean work as far as writing music and singing and performing, as much as sometimes it does about, sending out emails and getting your mailing list together, and then going around and making phone calls to different venues and that type of a thing. It's like, okay, all this stuff has to be done as well. Practicing, X amount of times, X amount of hours a week. So sometimes there's a little bit of less diligence there. But besides that, I think it's a lot of fun. I consider myself a creative mind, and so I know what that's like. I feel like, I know what it's like to want to feed that all the time, and I have a lot to do.
That's funny, because now I'm thinking, because I'm not going to say I'm not creative, but I'm more organized and I'm more management, and I think it would be a challenge to me to coach a very creative person, because I don't have a set formula for the way you get, but I have a path that I think, and I'd certainly stray slightly, but I think at one point I'd want to smack them and go, look,
right.
These are things that you have to do. So I think that would be more difficult for me. So I'm wondering, does creative mind...
How true is that?
Mind? Oh, no, we're going to get coached now. How
No.
true is it? No, I'd like to think I'm expansive and flexible, but if you told me that Steven Tyler was going to come and needed me to coach him, I'd be going, I'm not sure I can do that.
I think in general it comes down to the coaching process. One of the reasons that it was a major lesson that I got from IPEC was that you don't really have to know, it's not about knowing what the person wants or knowing what the person should do, as much as it's understanding the process that it takes for them to get there. And when you understand that process, and by having a conversation that is getting that right side of their mind maybe going, asking the right questions that they might seem obvious, but they're not asking themselves.
Right.
From your standpoint, it's a process, but really you can even bring that in. So if you just listen to what they're saying, obviously coaching is a lot about listening. And I think even recognizing from an analytical standpoint, okay, so what, again, taking it down to baby steps even for starter. If they're a very creative person, they're saying, well, I want to do this, I want to go over here, and I want to play this. It's like, okay, I hear what you're saying.
I hear all that.
What are the steps in doing that,
Okay.
And again, so it's really just about process. I don't think...
You don't find, though, that I would think about, and I'm talking totally unknowledgeably, I would think a part of it would be like getting them to focus on a couple of aspects as opposed to the big picture, and I appreciate the big picture so much, and that they can really see the possibilities in everything.
At that point, it's about value. It's, all right, so what we just said that, through the conversation, you would obviously say, well, it's important this stuff needs to be done.
Right.
At some point you say, well, what, you bring up the process. It seems to me that this stuff and this stuff and this stuff would need to be done, A, B, and C, and they would say yes. You say, okay, so, if that's not done, how, or if that is done, how much quicker will your career go?
Yeah.
And they would say, well, it'll be quicker. Say, so really, what is the value? If that's not being done, what are you giving up?
So you're saying, okay, I see what you're saying. You just have to come up with the right questions that they're going to hear and that's going to resonate with them.
Absolutely. It's about creating value around every aspect of things that they don't necessarily want to do. Because if they don't see the value in it, they're not going to do.
Right.
It's about getting that buy-in. And then a lot of the time they know it, but it just seems like it's a pain in the neck and I don't really want to get it done. But if you say to them, have them understand, ask them, what's the value around this? Why do you think it's important? Well, it's important because of this, Okay.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
So and then again, even at that point, so okay, I know it's a pain in the neck, but can you do it? How much of that can you get done in the next week? That's all I'm asking. I'm going to talk to you next Tuesday. How much can you get done between now and then?
Baby step. Yeah. Okay. Is there a client that you wouldn't coach? That you just? I have several. I mean, I know my limitations and I know what wouldn't be good for me. So do you have clients that you wouldn't coach?
I generally look to work with people who are coachable in the fact that they're willing to analyze what they're doing and what they're not doing. They're willing to work hard. They're willing to recognize some of their challenges as well as some of their strengths.
I like seekers and searchers.
Yeah.
So we can do it together.
Absolutely. Yeah. I particularly look for people who are really excited about possibilities, visionaries, and understand that just because it's not in front of you doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Right.
So people I wouldn't work with are just kind of more people who are, again, more like this is impossible and, naysayers who are consistently negative. And that doesn't mean that we don't have days like that. We don't all have days like that.
Right.
But you can generally get a feel for people who, are not so excited about their future that they're willing to make it happen.
Yeah.
That and sometimes there can be two right side where somebody's a little sporadic, like their brain is just moving so quickly that they can't even focus and they are unable to get anything done.
I think that's called ADD.
Yeah, on some level. And there's a different type of coach for that altogether.
There is. I know coaches who don't even set up appointments for ADD. It's just like, call me when you need me.
Right.
It's like,
Make it work.
And that whatever works. So are you still involved in the music industry, or are you just resting on your vast experience?
No, well, obviously I work with several musicians as a coach. I also manage one band, Karmic Juggernaut. You can check them out.
Karmic Juggernaut.
KarmicJuggernaut.com. They're
find out where they got the name from, if nothing else.
a psychedelic progressive rock band. Young guys from the Jersey Shore who are really, really amazingly talented. It's a little heavy, the progressive side of things, but they also do some jazz and some funk and some definitely worth checking out. Again, KarmicJuggernaut.com.
I think he wants you to go check it out. Are they giving you very free music or not yet?
They just released a new CD. You can check it out. They've got all the info. They're on tour right now, headed into Western Pennsylvania. I think they're playing out in Pittsburgh and maybe into Indiana as well. I'm not sure. But it's all on the website.
Fantastic. And we barely had time. We've only got like 2 minutes left. We barely had time to talk about the social media part. How big a role is that playing in everything, and how far behind am I? I was already telling him about 4 things I could use for him to do, actually.
It is playing a role in absolutely everything. You'll notice more and more, every commercial now has a hashtag. Every show, meaning for Twitter, let's say hashtag this show or whatever. More and more people are just using it on a daily basis. If you're not using social media for your business, then you are missing out in a huge way. I also coach people around that as well.
Do
in case
you?
you're interested. Yeah. Not just musicians, but I work with people on a social media aspect.
RyanStanley.com. I'm checking you out.
RyanStanley.com. Thank you very much. That's STNLEY.
Yes, right on the screen there, yes. And that's what you started doing for IPEC, and you would also say that even for the music industry, that's the way they're getting the word out.
Yeah, big time, because it's like I said, earlier I mentioned it's about being in front of people, it's about having content, it's about getting exposed. And so that's the way people are doing it now, and it makes sense. It's like having a megaphone on you all the time, but you're only talking to people who want to hear what you have to say.
Oh, I like that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, for instance, I follow people who play a certain type of music, so whenever their stuff comes up, if they are selling me something, I don't feel like I'm being spammed because I know who they are and I'm interested.
These are my peeps.
Right, exactly.
These are my interests, yeah. And obviously coaches also. I mean, there's so many out there that I think you have to know how to compete on some kind of level.
Absolutely, and it's just, it's like saying there are so many coaches, but as long as you create a niche and you can give your message out clearly, people will be able to find you. And so by having that consistency on a social media level, that's what it's about.
Well, I'm sure, as well as the music world, I'm sure you coach around fears of doing that, because I have many,
right?
Especially Twitter. I got everything else down, but Twitter, I don't get it. So I would say there's a lot of things. If you're a musician, this is your guy, and also a little social media. Ryan, I want to thank you so much.
No, Paul, Lori, thank you very, very much.
So
really good to be here.
Really, and thank you. You'll have to come back again.
I hope so. Thanks, everyone. Oh, we're done.